Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I hope you are having a wonderful, blessed day. Today I'm going to share with you all some helpful resources about culturally responsive teaching targeting Indigenous Peoples Day. And I just want to start you off and let you all know that I am a firm believer in social justice and being respectful of other cultures. I try my best as a second grade teacher to allow my students to take a deep look into other cultures and make connections instead of judgments. And that's why in my classroom, we celebrate Indigenous Day and not Columbus Day. Celebrating and glorifying Columbus means celebrating colonialism, racism, and genocide. Columbus enslaved and murdered many Taino people, destroyed their cultures, chopped off their hands when the Taino people did not give him gold. That is something that I cannot allow in my class, and I cannot celebrate something so horrific. When the school curriculum and the history books celebrate Christopher Columbus, children are taught that it's okay for white people to marginalize people of color, rule over people of color, and that it's okay for powerful military nations to bully weaker nations. That's not okay, and it has to stop. We still have children's books like Follow the Dream, the story of Christopher Columbus, which praises Columbus and still does not mention meeting the Taino people and the genocide against the Taino people. It shows students, when they read that book, which culture to praise and which culture to ignore, because the book says nothing about the brutality of the European invasion of the Caribbean islands. It just ends with Christopher Columbus landing on the shore with the island of his dick. And that has to stop. This false history of Christopher Columbus cannot be taught in my classroom, and it should not be taught in your classroom. It should not be taught in your home. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. He did not help the Indians, and the Indians did not give land to Christopher Columbus. He forcefully took everything through genocide, murder, criminal acts. And so we as people, we as parents, we as educators, parents and guardians, we have to talk to our younger children, and we need to teach them the truth and say that he invaded the Americans and that he was the first terrorist in the Americas. It's an ugly truth, but it needs to be heard, it needs to be taught. He was a murderer and he committed genocide against the people of the land. The people suffered and they are being suppressed, marginalized. He initiated the transatlantic trade, and this conquest of the Americas diminished the population of, and the culture of the Taino people in the late 15th century. So their culture may not be existed today if they did not keep it alive and try their best to pass it down to their future generations. So that's why we need to celebrate the people who are alive today and celebrate their ancestors who went through so much horrific violence and economic unwelfare. Like, as educators and parents and guardians, we need to tell our young children about this. We cannot wait for the government to do something. We have to do something. We cannot wait for the historians to write a new history book. We have to research and teach the correct history. We need to teach our children about the injustice of this country so we stop the marginalization, the discrimination, and the poverty of the Indigenous community. There are some people, Indigenous community, Native Americans, who are very wealthy, but there are not many. And there would have been many, many more wealthy Native Americans if it wasn't for this genocide that was created early in the 15th century. So it starts with us. It starts with us as guardians, teachers, educators. It starts with education and people rising together to influence the government to change. I know I've been going on this rant, but I just wanted to clear that out with you all, to give you my sense of how I feel about Indigenous Peoples Day. You may have a different sentiment, and that's okay. You are free to share that in the comments, but please do listen to me because I do have great insights on this, and I would love to share with you all about 10 things that you can do to celebrate Indigenous Day as an educator in elementary, middle, and high school. Number one, first off, start the day off amazing with a morning meeting with a fun Indigenous Day song and message. All your students from kindergarten to 12th graders can watch this. It's for all ages. It's hype, it's pump them up. It'll get them to learn why we do not celebrate Christopher Columbus and why we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Once you start them off with that morning meeting, after your morning meeting is over, you can have a discussion, an open conversation with your students. So the second way is having that open conversation with your students about Christopher Columbus during your lessons, especially in a history class. when the history textbook begins to talk about him. So you may have this conversation during Indigenous Day, or you may have it later throughout the year, whenever you're talking about the Indigenous people or Native Americans or the Cherokee, the Taino, the Sioux, the Apache, but so many more. So I would like to share with you my screen and show you that the morning meeting is a really great place to start off with informing your students about who the Indigenous people are and why are they so important. So that is something that I'm doing on my classroom. It is Friday and I am going to have Indigenous Day on Monday. I have prepared my Google Classroom. I have prepared my morning meeting with the Indigenous Day video. So if you see right here, this is my Google Slides. This is a Google Slides that I use throughout the month, throughout virtual learning, and I've been editing it. And so if I scroll down here to the first slide, I will show you that this is the slide, this is the video about Indigenous People Days. The song is very amazing. I'm going to play it for you so that you can see it for yourself.
One earth, one people, one love. 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 Welcome back to Mr. Harold's music class. We used to celebrate Columbus Day, but now we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. First off, let's define indigenous, the native people, original inhabitants, living on every single continent. Then somebody shows up and says, I discovered it. How can you discover somewhere already found or take credit for a place that's already around, like Hanan, Cortez, or Hanan?
And so this video goes into a lot of historical facts about Christopher Columbus and how it relates to Indigenous Day, People's Day. And so this is something that I show my students, and I definitely encourage you to show it to your kiddos as well, from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. Then what I do is during my morning message, I will go over about curiosity, and later on for students, what we do is I go into a little daily work reminders, because I'm giving the students a Flipgrid Indigenous vending art. And so if I go to my Google Classroom right here, you'll see that I have the Flipgrid Indigenous vending art. And so that is something that you can do as well. So a third way to celebrate Indigenous Day as an educator, you can create Flipgrid fun videos for your students. Here, I'm having the students play a game and make a Native American beading art. And so when I go to the Flipgrid account here, you will see that it says Indigenous People beading art. This is very easy and very simple to create on Flipgrid. All I had to do was add this as an image, write the directions and the prompt, and then add the video of Indigenous dance for kids. And I found this very cool Native American art on pbs.org. It's about a girl named Molly, who's Native American and lives in Alaska. And so what she does is she helps you draw the beads. So her name is Molly. She's from Alaska, and she's a Native American 10-year-old girl who's going to show you how to
beading art.
And so I have
Hi, I'm Molly, and my mom is helping me learn how to bead. Beading is an important part of our culture. These are all my beading design cards. Design cards teach people how to make new things. Choose one of Molly's designs or make your own.
And so once I choose one of the designs, I have the students just play the game. They're going to
Here are all my beading designs. My family and friends gave me many of these. Pick the design you'd like to make. Mountain flower.
So if you pick a design,
Here's the design card you picked.
If you don't want the mountain flower, your students may...
Here are all my beading designs. My family valley flower, lightning bolt, Kaya Northern Suki, leaves, wolf paw print.
And they have many different things that the students can create. Once the students create...
Wolf paw print. A strong, simple design made by Layla Mabray. That's my mom. This design has 5 steps. Let's get started. We should make sure we have everything we need.
And so once the students are done with that, they're going to begin designing it. And so once they design it on their play game, they will go and take out a piece of paper. And so they take out a piece of paper and they show me. So I made a video because I like to show the videos for my students so they understand what to do. So my video, I'm showing them my art that I drew on paper. Hi friends, so Miss Campbell decided to create a bead that Molly made. So this is one of Molly's designs of her Native American beading art. And so I'll show them, and so the students will know, oh, okay, I have to draw the beading art. So that's really something you can do with the students. This is very elementary based, maybe for students in kindergarten, first, second, third, possibly fourth and fifth graders if they're like that. Some fourth and fifth graders do not, but it's very good for elementary. The kids love to draw. And I also wanted to show you another Google Classwork assignment that I am having my students complete on Wednesday, October 14th. It is a social studies assignment where the students are going to listen to a read aloud of the Native American story called Fry Bread. Once the students finish reading that book, they can also watch another informational video on what is fry bread and how it is made. Once the students watch both videos, they can answer the comprehension quiz questions on Google Forms, which is super helpful for me as a teacher to grade because I can see all the students' answers in one place and if the students answered it correctly. And so these are some questions that I have here. I have multiple choice questions such as, is fry bread only from one place? That's a true and false question. I have choose the nation tribe that was mentioned in the book. I have what is fry bread made out of, and I also have is fry bread both a dessert and a meal. And so this really is good for comprehension and also opening the minds of the students to learn more about Native American traditions and cultures. ZinEdProject.org, which talks about the people versus Columbus. This is a mock trial you can have with your students in high school and middle school. You can have the students, one group of students is the people and the other group is Columbus, and the students are trying to defend at the charge of murdering the Taino Indians in the early 1492. So this is a really good way to incorporate your students into the lesson for them to dive deep into understanding what really happened to the Taino Indians, the Taino Native Americans when Christopher Columbus arrived in the Caribbean. So you can do mock trials, that's perfect for middle high school. You can also do role play for middle high school. And so ZinEdProject.org is amazing. It has a lot of sources for even third graders and up. It doesn't have a lot for second graders, and so I have to always revamp it, but they give you many different resources. So you can talk about the Andrew Jackson and the Children of Forest activity, role play with the Cherokee and the Seminole removal when the Cherokees and Seminoles were removed from their land, and they had the Trail of Tears. And so from Georgia all the way to Oklahoma, they were moved. And then you can also talk about the dirty oil and shovel-ready jobs, about how there's a pipeline, sands. This is more so like for upper level grades, the high schoolers. Discovering Columbus, rereading the past, rethinking how to engage your students in critically textbooks, middle school, high schools. This is also good for fourth and fifth graders, I would believe so. You can also go into more depth about researching reparations, if that is what your students in high school, are on that level. See the people versus Columbus, I was telling you about the role play, the mock trials. Role play, you can have the students rethink the US Constitutional Convention, have the students role play where they bring it to life, where it's having the students go into detail about the American Revolution with a focus. So this one doesn't really connect to the Native Americans, but I'm just showing you they have so many sources about Indian removal. There's books upon that. This is a really, really good book about rethinking Columbus in the next 500 years. It's a great book for grades 5 through 12 about the impact and legacy of the arrival of Columbus in the Americas. And so it's really good for you. So you can just search in the box. You can do it by grade level, films, digital posters, books. You can do themes. You can do grade level, time period. There are many sources that you can use. And this is a really good website. So this is really good right here. Talks about the abolishing of Columbus Day, on the road to cultural bias, about the Oregon Trail, students worry up. It's so many good things on here. And what I really liked is that the Zen Education Project also gives you a demo. This is a teacher way back when, I'm not sure, I think it was in 1992. Yes, it was in 1992. He did a documentary, and it just shows you how you can implement this in the classroom. So if you're unsure how to implement this with your students, definitely take a peek at this and see how he did it with his students. He asked them questions. It was really good. So definitely check that out. Also, you can do Columbus in America. This is a documentary. So my high schoolers, middle schoolers, it's 1 hour long. So you can break it up throughout the week and have your students do a research project or a summary essay about what they learned in the documentary for the middle school and high schoolers. And so those are some really good websites that I wanted to share with you. These are videos that I am going to be showing my kids in 2nd grade because it's animated and it's very kid friendly. It tells them about the tribes that are in the Americas. And so it talks about the First Nations and tells what the people would like to be called and what they would not like to be called. Then this one right here, this is a really cool video about the dance group of children in Alaska. Again, this is Molly of Denali show, and it just tells them about their ancestors, how they create different cultural attires for their ancestors, how they dance. And it's really good. It's very kid friendly. And for 2nd graders, I'm definitely sure middle schoolers would like this as well. And here is the last video about dancing. It's just a instrumental music dance video that your students can watch to get a better understanding of the cultural attire that they wear. And if you want more videos about a book, like you don't have a book that is a Native American book, you are free to go to YouTube and look up the Native American for Kids. This is a Kids Academy book. It shows more information about Native Americans, their culture, and it goes really in depth, which is
and hunters.
It talks about all the different tribes, so it's really good. And I also like that if you need to read a book about Native Americans, you have here this book called Fry Bread, a Native American family story by Kevin Noble. There is another story that I really liked. It's called The First Americans, I believe. If I go in my history, I can try to find it for you all. Okay.
The very first American.
Okay, so here, if you don't have any Native American books at home, you can go on YouTube, read The Very First Americans and The Fry Bread to your students. And it's really good. It goes into detail about their culture. And if you want any more resources, you can go for teachingforchange.org. You can go to this, the teachingforchange.org goes into depth about a PDF file about abolishing Columbus Day. And again, it's on Zen Education Project if you just want one source. But there is an abundance of resources out there for educators, parents, and guardians. There is no excuse for why you cannot teach about Indigenous Peoples Day. You can teach about Indigenous Peoples Day and make it kid-friendly for kindergartners, 2nd graders, 5th graders, 8th graders, 12th graders, any age, it is possible, okay? And so I talked about starting a morning meeting as the first way to celebrate Indigenous Day, having an open conversation with your students, Flipgrid fun videos, mock trials, role plays, even debates. You can have debates in 2 groups where a student is taking, oh, I want this side. I'm the Indigenous people. No, I am Christopher Columbus, and they're debating against each other about who should take the land, right? So just to get the kids into that role play debate. You can even have the students number 7 and 7th ways. You can have the students write a letter to Christopher Columbus and telling him why did he do this? How did he feel when he got on the ship? When he went on the island? How did he feel torturing those people, murdering them? How did he feel doing that? And why did he do that? Like teachers have we have the not authority, but we have the influence to help our students, just write these letters and get their minds thinking more. And another thing you can also do is number 8 is write a pen pal letter to another student in the Indigenous tribe. So this is something that 2nd graders and up, all the way to high school can write. You can write a pen pal letter to another student who is in the indigenous tribes of like the Cherokees, the Navajos, the Soy, Apache, any of those tribes that are here, you can have your children write a pen pal letter. That's number 8. Number 9, you can do a research project. Of course, everyone knows research projects. You have your students go on Google, go on the web browser, go to look about the Native American tribes, who they are, what their cultures are, the similarities between those tribes, the differences between those tribes, or even have them do a research project on Christopher Columbus and his voyage into the Caribbeans and how he tortured and murdered and genocides on the people there. And so that's number 9. Number 10 is finally just having a discussion about Indigenous activism to date. This is a great topic for middle school and high schoolers because there are a lot of Indigenous people who are fighting actively for their rights, for their culture. And so if you have that conversation with your students in the middle school and high school, they are at that age where they can have that serious talk with you and you can ignite their minds. You know, you can just make them be socially aware of the cultures around them and know that this is a culturally responsive community that it should be, right? And so I hope you enjoyed learning all those different resources. It's so important to teach culturally responsive and social justice lessons in the classroom. It not only benefits the children who are from the culture, but it benefits the other students who are not from the culture because it creates a more culturally responsive community in your classroom. They learn from the culture, they can connect with the culture instead of judging the culture and putting it down. So I like to use a lot of arts, music, and drama to teach my students about social justice because it's a great way to get the kids involved. Kids love hands-on activities, and I hope your children or your students love these activities. If you do use it in your classroom, be sure to comment below. Let me know if you have any other interesting ideas. I don't have the answers. You may have some amazing ideas as well. So please do share in the comment box. I really appreciate you all for watching. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, blessed day. I'll see you soon. Bye.